Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today, Nicole Flower House. My name is Taryn, and I'm here to share with you my cut flower garden. It's about 300 square feet of growing space. The majority of it is in raised garden beds, and I'm located in Zone 7B. This is officially the first garden tour of 2021, and it's January. We'll start off right here where I've planted daffodils. The variety is Rosy Clouds, so they'll be pink, and it's all along these garden boxes right in the front. This bed right here has poppies in it, and it also has a lot of weeds in it too. This is the first time I've grown poppies, so I can't tell them apart, so I'm not going to weed this until I get blooms. Next to that, I have a couple bachelor's buttons. I planted these in the fall, hoping for a fall crop, and they grew really slow. But it looks like I'll get an early spring crop with these ones. These are my coral berry plants called Berry Proud. I have 6 of them, and amongst all these snapdragons and weeds are some baby plants. So I have some work to do in these garden beds. I planted the snapdragons again in the fall, hoping for fall crops, but looks like I might get an early start on the spring, which is good because I did not get my anemones or ranunculus in the ground nearly as early as I did last year, so those will be delayed compared to last season. Here are a few carnations that survived my fall planting and more coral berry plants. Now, since there's not a lot going on in the garden right now, I've included a lot of pictures from last season, so you can kind of see what's coming in the next few months as spring comes around. This was here last year, and this is what it looks like right now. My eucalyptus actually has survived the winter so far. I'm a little surprised. I wasn't sure if it would or not, but it's doing okay. In the rest of this spot where the mums used to be, the herbs are still there. So chives, thyme, oregano, and of course the eucalyptus on the end. Now, eucalyptus is actually a tree, so since it's doing so well, I think I'll coppice it and see if I can get some branching this season. I also planted some sweet peas here in the fall. This is what they looked like last spring, and if you can remember, I waited and waited and waited for these to bloom. So maybe I'll get some a little earlier this year. These 3 beds right here are planted with ranunculus. Now, I'm not sure how they'll do this year. Again, I planted them much later than I did last year, and we've gotten way more rain. So I really hope they don't rot. This is what they looked like last year. They were kind of the show of my spring garden. They were absolutely beautiful. So I'm really hoping for a repeat this time around, but we will see with all this rain. Here are my tulips planted very close together, just like I did last season, and again hoping for the same kind of result. This is what they look like when you plant them that close together. Since we're cutting them, they're not going to come back, and we'll have to plant new ones every year. Earlier, I had decided that I was going to turn some of my garden boxes into all roses, but instead, I'm going to plant 1 rose at the end of each of 12 different garden boxes to kind of create an aisleway of roses. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'm excited to see. This box here on the end used to have dahlias in it. This is what they looked like last season. Those have been moved somewhere else now. Here are the calendula that I planted in the fall. I did not get any blooms, but I still have healthy foliage, so maybe I will get some flowers very early. This is Dara that I planted in the fall, so again, hopefully some spring blooms there. And next to that, I had a few stock plants survive so far, so we'll see what those turn into as well. Over the past month, I've been moving all my dahlias. This is where they used to be, and this is what it looked like all last summer. I dug them all up and moved them to their new home, which are these 6 garden boxes right here. I have T-posts ready for floral netting. It's called Hortanova to help support them, so I'm hoping to do a lot better with my dahlias this year. And last year, the dahlia patch was my tomato patch. I've decided not to plant annuals in these boxes this year. Last year it was celosia and zinnias, but this time I'm going to leave the winterberry that's in there alone so they have more growing space. Crabapple trees have been there, I just don't think I've shown them before. And more winterberry. I do have some hollyhocks there that may come back, we'll see. Last year also that bed had gomphrena in it. It was one of my favorite. Now this spot is where I'm starting a new perennial garden. I have Siberian elm planted in here to help with a privacy screen. This is running along our neighbor's fence. And I've made the garden edge with some trees that we had cut down to clear the area. Just kind of something fun to see what happens. Obviously this needs more soil and more mulch, but this is just the beginning of the project. Now I told myself this is going to be just for perennials, but with all this open space while those trees are small, I'm sure I will probably be planting a row of something in the very front of it right next to the logs, because I just don't think I can let all that open soil go to waste. I really do think I'll plant maybe some zinnias, maybe some snapdragons in the spring. I don't know. What do you think I should put there? I'm having a hard time deciding. I really want to put something on top of this thing too. This log has a really unique shape and I wanted to use it in the garden and decorate it in some way, so we'll just see what I come up with. Who knows? Now this is the spot where the dahlias used to be. I just have it covered up so Scully won't dig in there. In the spring, I'm going to put cool weather vegetables in there, and in the summer, it'll be pumpkins and squash. Now this may be the one update I am most excited about. The rain barrels got a makeover. We hired professional deck builders that engineered this deck to hold the weight of all of my rain barrels, and it is higher than all of the garden beds. Here's what it used to look like when they were all sitting on cinder blocks. And I'm going to have to redo the plumbing. I took it all apart so we could drain the barrels and put them up here. It is built so that all the plumbing will come underneath the barrels still. And since the height of this deck is taller than all of my garden boxes, I'm getting that much closer to hopefully figuring out a way to water my garden with rainwater using a drip irrigation system that relies entirely on gravity. Now, if the gravity-fed system doesn't work, I can always look into getting a small pump to pump the water out of the barrels. But I'm thinking with the volume of water I have and the added height advantage, I should be able to figure out some way to do that. Every winter, I have a pile of soil that I work with to top off my beds. Up here in the front of the house, I have about 100 daffodils planted. It's just a mix of yellow and white daffodils. I get my daffodils and my tulips from color blends, so you can get them in bulk. Behind the daffodils, I have this black wire fencing that lets me know where the boundary is so I don't plant anything over top of them. Because behind that spot, I do want to have a pollinator garden, just some wildflowers or zinnias or cosmos, some things that I'm not going to cut on. Now, I still have the lavender plants up front here. Some of them are okay, and some of them have not taken well to all the rain we've been getting. You can see this next one here is pretty much dead. You can barely see it. It has a few green spikes on it, so of course I'm not going to rip it out. I'm going to wait and see what happens, but that one's very unhappy. This one looks completely dead. It's kind of crazy, but some of them took well and some of them didn't. Now this one here, I planted the seeds at the same time, but I got it transplanted into the ground probably 4 months before the other ones, maybe even 6 months. They all started out just like this. Here's a picture of what they looked like. I grew them from seeds instead of cuttings. Tucked next to those is some eucalyptus. Here is another lavender plant that I grew from seed and again transplanted much earlier than the other garden bed. This perennial here I planted, no idea what it is. Same with this one over here. Actually, this one might be something called Bristol Fairy, a form of a perennial baby's breath, but I'll have to wait and see because I really do forget what those are. And there's a ton of weeds in this garden bed too that need taking care of. Well, that is all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this first video of the 2021 growing season. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And the best way you can support me and my channel is to subscribe and share with your flower-loving friends. And just in case you were wondering who does all the editing on these videos, it's definitely Scully. If you enjoyed seeing all the pictures of the garden, you can follow me on Instagram. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.